Ready?
Go for it.
It is 9 o'clock. I will call the Tuesday, February 13th, 2018 meeting of the Wright County Board. Let's please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome everybody today. Thanks for being here. First item, second item actually, minutes of the county board meeting from February 6th, 2018.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion. Second that motion. I'll motion that second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Hewsome. Confusion, and second by Commissioner Vetch.
It's early.
Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would like to petition something on for a brief discussion. Last week there was a sewage leak. A coupler broke on the sewage system that pumps out to Albion Township, and some of the sewage, we don't know how much, flowed into the Ramsey Lake, and I'd like to just have a brief discussion, and Alicia from Soil Water is going to help me a little bit with some of the detail as well.
So why don't we take it under timed agenda items D.
And then, Mr. Chair, if I could also add, regarding the February 28th committee date, I think we'll have some conflicts there we should discuss.
Okay. We'll take that under items for consideration B.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that amendments, I'd move the agenda for today.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by, and no confusion, by Commissioner Vetch this time. Is there any other additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to remove from the consent agenda for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any further discussions or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Timed agenda items. Our almost award-winning Adam Tagaro from our IT Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. This morning I'd like to introduce the latest addition to the IT department, our new developer, Brian Andreessen, who came to us after being a developer at Concord. So I'd like him to say a little hello.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Hello, Commissioners. Hope you're having a great morning this morning.
Yeah.
I come from a consulting background along with a consumer electronics background, and hope to bring a lot of value to the Wright County.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Had no trouble this morning, too much anyway, with the switch over to Office 365.
All right. We made the major move to Office 365 this morning, and it went through. So yeah.
Talk to the team about not moving you on big stuff before a meeting next time.
Yeah.
If it went badly, that probably.
And even me, the guy that has a problem with the press any key.
Yeah.
Did you find the any key yet?
Brian, I still, Adam, I still think it was a good idea not hiring the firm that did the Mylars for the state for 365. So congratulations to you on that.
We've got a very efficient team here. So yeah, we appreciate that.
So Brian's been a welcome addition to the team, and we're looking forward to using his skills.
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
So, Brian, where are you from?
I reside in Albertville.
Oh.
All right.
You live there long?
2 years.
2 years?
Going on 3.
All right,
Okay.
so we won't hold that against you then. So
He used to live in Albertville, and then he ran away.
yeah.
Went to hide in a township there somewhere.
Where were you before?
I was a consultant, an IT consultant for Concord USA, which is a boutique consulting firm in Hopkins.
Okay.
So I'm working with Fortune 1000 companies, primarily in the healthcare industry.
So you had nothing to do with the
No.
mats and the main share?
No.
Not at all.
Oh, good. Another positive thing. Well, welcome to working for the Wright County. You live in the Wright County, you get to work for the Wright County.
Yeah,
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
thanks for coming.
Take care.
Is Tony here? Oh, there he is,
There he is.
hiding.
Hiding in plain sight.
Wasn't hiding. Just got here late, didn't want
Morning.
to see me. Mr. Chair and members of the board, I'm here today to set up a date and time for the County Board of Equalization. And to give you a little insight, we have to set this thing up. We have to make sure that Mike can be there because he's the only member that's trained. And it has to be...
Is it still too late to get trained?
It is. At this point, February 1st is the date. And,
I
you know,
forgot about that again. I was going to do that.
So what's in it for me?
yeah, you get to pick the date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be after the second Friday of June. And last year we did it on a Monday. And we continued it into the following Tuesday. I talked with our compliance officer because we set up appointments. As long as we have our appointments going till 7 o'clock, we can adjourn the meeting if nobody shows up on that date, but past practice has been that we've taken it into the following day.
But, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Does Monday the 11th, because we have a HHS in the afternoon, we just stay here later? Does that work on everybody's schedule?
Works for me.
June 11th?
March 11th.
June 11th.
June 11th.
June 11th.
It's gotta be
Wait a
June, it's gotta be the
second.
second.
Mike, it could be a problem for me because is that saltwater? It's the second Monday,
Second Monday?
Monday.
Yeah, second Mondays would be,
What time do
Usually.
you get done?
Well, 7:30 at night.
Oh, okay, so it's later.
No, that's when he's done. So it starts at 4:30, right?
Right.
Before 30, but he gets it's 7:30.
They usually go about 7:30.
Tony, in the past, have we normally set it for 6 o'clock? I'm trying to remember the time.
4 o'clock is
4
usually
o'clock,
when we
okay.
do it.
I'm gonna go
We could do the Tuesday,
Tuesday,
12th.
12th.
Well, just remember, we have Wright County Community Action on that Tuesday.
Why don't you do the
But, I
14th
mean,
then?
it's not critical.
No, but that's, yeah, we don't want to do that.
Want to go Thursday, Michael, or
Which one?
you want to try Thursday the 14th? Because
Wednesday
Mondays
the
and
13th?
Tuesdays aren't working here.
Wednesday the 13th?
Or Wednesday the
That would be
13th.
committee day.
I have a META at 4.
Yeah. Well, Thursday so far looking like the big winner here.
Mr. Chair, Tony, did you
Leg
say it
day.
has to be after the second,
Friday.
For the
So
second
it'd have to
Friday
be
after
after
after the
June.
second Friday, okay?
After the 8th.
Time after the 8th.
That's correct.
Can we do it on the 18th?
Works for me.
And then we can continue it for the Tuesday, otherwise we could do it another,
He said we don't have to do any continuance if we have
well,
several
if,
appointments. Yeah.
but if we,
Yeah.
Well, let's hope it doesn't get that,
if we knew that we didn't have to continue it the next day, but yeah, certainly we could
So June 18th.
do another evening,
18th and possibly 19th if we had to.
yeah.
June 18th work?
Mike,
Gotta pick a day.
June 18th?
That works for you?
I'll make it work.
Okay.
June
People will have to wait.
18th at
4:30.
4 o'clock.
You need
4
me for
o'clock,
this one.
4:30.
Yeah, I know
What
we
time?
do.
One time of the year you need me to be down here.
Let's do 4:30.
4:30?
4:30.
So we'll set up the appointments from 4:30 till 7 and see how things go.
Yep.
All right.
All right? Very good. Thank you,
Sounds
guys.
good. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, Mr. Chair, make a motion to set the Board of Equalization date for June 18th, which is a Monday at 4:30, and the continuing After that would be after the board meeting, 10:30 on Tuesday? Is that how we do this, Tony?
If needed.
If needed, correct.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Burrell. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign, motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. O'Hare, Water Resource Specialist from the Soil, Water, and Conservation District, regarding adopting a resolution approving the 2018 Wright Regional Inspection Program for East and West Lake Sylvia, Lake John, and Pleasant Lake.
Good morning, Chair and Board. How are you this morning?
Good.
If I move the mic a little closer to you so that they can hear you over there and everybody in the back.
Oh,
Either
okay.
that or your outdoor voice.
Oh, you want me to use my outdoor voice this time? Okay.
Or your mother voice.
My mother voice. I'm getting very good at that one.
We just complimented you on your powerful voice, and now you come up trying to be more meek and quiet. We like that powerful, booming voice.
Oh, okay. There we go. I just wanted to go over a couple of things in the plan real quick for you. There we go. So again, I am just asking that you approve the 2018 plan for the Wright Regional Inspection Program. We are making some improvements this year in 2018, including going electronic on the inspection survey, which will assist in calculating wait times and getting that data to be more uniform and easier to work with. We'll use a shorter user survey. This is a separate survey that users of the regional inspection site can give feedback on. We are going to offer some bulk inspections for lake service providers if they have many boats that they want to launch on one of these lakes, especially in the early season, or that they have just recently taken off at the end of season. We're just requiring 10 boats or more and 3 business days on notice, and then we'll do our best. Also for bulk inspections, if there is a fishing league or tournament that has a set time, they also can give with 10 boats or more and 3 business days notice. We can try and get someone to meet them at the access so they can all be inspected at once. And then additionally, in order to help with the direction to get to the site, we're going to add some highway signs on 55 in each direction. They're going to be 4 by 6 feet and have the direction that's pictured there so that people can see where they need to turn in order to get to the site. This is just an outline of what the operational hours are going to be. We start out at about 14 hours. If we are able to begin in early April, that'll just depend on ice out. Our plan is to, no earlier than April 1st, but then ice out. And once we determine that ice is out, we'll give 7 days notice before anything is really enforced. We might open sooner than that, but enforcement, we would make sure that there's 7 days notice before enforcement happens. And then the peak of the season, we would be open for 16 and a half hours from 5 a.m. to 9:30. And then after July, we slowly come down to the 12 hours a day at the end of October. The budget, just a note that this did change since the plan was originally sent out to you. There was a line item, the rover mileage was not included. It is $13,000. And our utility cost, we found that some of our startup cost was originally in that calculation, so we removed that. So the budget does come out to be about $5,000 more. The source of the funding is primarily from the Initiative Foundation grant held by Greater Lake Sylvia. They do need to approve that increase of $5,000, but we that will just be requested. So our anticipated budget is $228,000 and $200. Just things to consider, that this is a minimum staff of at least 2 people all the time. For 3 lakes, this is probably a lot. But we don't want someone to be tied up in decontaminations and have other users be forced to wait or cause confusion at the site. So we're minimum of 2 people. We are planning for 3 staff on weekends, and for example, the week of 4th of July, that whole week we'll have a 3rd person there. But we are allowing some flexibility with our lake service provider, Anchor Dock and Lift, that as we go through the season, as we see this traffic coming in, they might say, oh, we probably don't need somebody this particular Saturday, especially if the forecast looks terrible. And so we're giving them some freedom. And then also, if we find that we need somebody, we might even just call in our rover who is checking the sites to come help. So we do have some flexibility in the staffing. We are doing a long season, and I say long in reference, normally the at the ramp inspection is from late May until early to late September. We're operating from April 1st to October 31st, so that's part of it. And then in the event that lakes are added, the cost wouldn't be linear, because on Wednesdays you might not need to add staff, depending on which lakes you add, but you might need to add 1 staff on Saturdays or something. So it's not gonna make this climb a much higher to add lakes if that does become something. And just a note, when DNR did originally look at regional inspections, they thought that we would need 5 to 7 in Wright County. And then I just wanted to note our overall AIS budget from Wright Soil and Water. So in 2017, we put money into education and outreach, treatment of AIS present in lakes, the decontamination program, which was a courtesy program, at the ramp inspections, some administration dollars that went to Crow for administering. Regional inspections wasn't part of the budget last year. We did spend $1,600 in a rapid response on Pleasant Lake for Eurasian milfoil. And that's all from the AAS Prevention Fund. But in addition to that, the Water Management Fund supported some staff time. And that was $6,800. And then this year, our allocations are pretty similar. The at the ramp inspections is at $105,000, but if you add the regional inspections, which would account for John, Sylvia, and Pleasant, it's about the same. It's just a little bit less because it's the same allocation that we would have given the lakes otherwise. And then our contingency we keep at $15,000 in case we need it if a lake needs a rapid response. And then just this next page is a pie chart showing the same thing. So most of our budget, over half, goes to inspections and decontaminations. About a quarter goes to treatment. And we keep that contingency bigger than it really needs to be because we hope we don't ever have to spend those dollars, but they're made available. So that's what I have for you today.
Mr. Chair, Alicia, can you get us a copy of the 2017-2018 AIS fund distribution? I didn't see it in here.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The PowerPoint will be included in the final board meeting packet.
Okay.
Will that be sufficient?
Yep.
Yep.
That's perfect. Yep. Just because I'll have people that are asking me how that money's being allocated, so.
Yep.
Right.
Wanted to be able to get that transparent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alicia, just want to remind the public, as there's been a lot of confusion on what's going on here. This is a pilot project. what we're trying to do, we know we're not going to be able to eradicate all this aquatic invasive species. What we're attempting to do is slow it down so we do not have a Lake Coronis on our hands in this county. Anybody who's been on that lake or seen the pictures knows you don't want that. And maybe the technology will catch up, maybe something else. By doing nothing, we are destined to have the problem because it'll just migrate this way because that's a little too close to our border for our safety here. The money spent on it, if we can get a handle on this, if we can slow it down somehow, it might be a minor inconvenience to a few people, but the long term for the lake, because we have a lot of lakes in Wright County, we want to keep them clean as much as we can. And with all the social media and your different people, go to this lake, go to that lake because the bass are biting or whatever, it brings every warrior that doesn't check their boat out there, and pretty soon you got on your lake. I, being a resort owner on a lake in Alexandria, take this real serious. Senator Bill Ingebrigtsen sits on the Senate Natural Resources Committee, and he's full-fledged endorse of trying this because he's been trying to get the DNR to do something with a lot of resistance. So Wright County is basically spearheading this to, we're going to try something. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Pilot projects are just that. You try it. If it works, you can continue. If it doesn't work, we say, hey, we tried. So I applaud the effort and everything else, and I'm looking forward to a good season. As people get over their initial grumbling over, okay, I get 2 minutes late to the lake, the end result will be good for the residents of those lakes and the citizens of Wright County.
Alicia, DNR is requesting a review towards the end of June, was that correct?
We must operate until the end of June, and they want a summary from that time period. So when we open until the end of June is the time period they want the review to include. So we'll submit that after.
So there will be no lakes added until at least that point, if ever.
At least. Yeah, just to that point. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to this or not, but in order to add any lakes, like you said, Mr. Chair, we must operate with the 3 lakes until the 30th of June and send the report to the DNR. The remainder of this is in no particular order. These are just the things that need to happen. We would need to amend the ordinance, which does include a public hearing, gain approval from the lake, the delegated authority, which is Wright Soil and Water, you, the county board, and the DNR, and then in addition, we need to revise any contracts that we have.
Mr. Chair, I think the Soil Water Board was pretty clear last night and said we are not going to do it this year. I think
that was they didn't motion on that, but there was definitely some.
They just want to make sure it works the whole year. I think it's wise, maybe just to stay with what we have through the whole year. Then you have a benchmark, so.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to challenge all of you involved with this too. You need to get public buy-in before we'd even have another conversation about adding other lakes. Right now, I mean, we had a lot of buy-in all the way up till we passed it, and I tell you, I've only had mostly negative reaction on this since it's been inception. And for that reason, I'm challenging you to go out there and everyone involved to, however we can, embrace those other entities that don't live on the lake and find out what we need to do to make them feel comfortable with this situation. I think it's good that we're doing something. I think it's good that we're getting this information to find out how we can make it better. But I also understand that you are in a kind of a time crunch because by 2020, you'll be out of funds if you don't add other lakes. The sustainability beyond 2020, 2021 are very slim without more lakes because that's how you're going to be able to fund it beyond that. Am I correct?
Yes, but my understanding from talking to Chris Hector, the president of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association, is that the time crunch may be even greater than that because the part of their budget included the expanding, and with if the Initiative Foundation won't allow them to use those dollars just for this year, we'd actually run out of funding before the end of the year.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hughesman, I think you had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to commend the people in Lake Sylvia from the first time when they discovered starry stonewort and went into very active mode to, hiring or enlisting the services from Dr. Rogers from Clemson University. And when I think back to what's happened in less than a year and a half to get to this point, I think it's amazing. And the fact that, we're a little delayed getting it up and running last fall, but we still got some great data for that month. And also I think that as time's going on and the anglers are finding that they don't have as much time at the inspection site as they were afraid that they were going to be spending a lot of time there. And so all that data is good, and we just need to, like you said, Mr. Vetch, get it out to the public more. I haven't heard any negative comments for a while, actually, since it's been several months, so that's a positive thing.
It's because they don't have to check their...
They don't have to check their boat. They don't have to check their boats in the winter. You're right.
Or their fish houses.
Yeah.
I just want to slow down this wanting to accelerate fast. Like I said, we have only 20 days under our belt on this, and I really hope that you're going to have more than 3 people there on the 4th of July weekend. I really, really hope you're going to. For public buy-in, if nothing else, I'd rather have you have 5 people standing there doing nothing than to go to that weekend and be like, oh my gosh, we should have had 10 people. Because I tell you, if it goes bad that weekend, the buy-in beyond that will be terrible. And to recover from it would be a monumental task.
Commissioner Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alicia, this is a pilot project, okay? It's nothing we're going to try this. I mean, to add more lakes is kind of putting the cart before the horse. We need to get that data first to find out what we're doing, how we're doing this before we start adding all lakes. If the DNR is going to push that we got to do these lakes, otherwise things can go on, I would suggest that we keep Senator Bill Ingebrigtsen apprised of all the things going on here, that he gets notified on everything here, because he's going to be our best ally to make sure that somebody from another agency doesn't try to either force us into something we're not ready for before we have the data. We need the data first. We're doing this in the library. We're doing one of those kiosks drop-off. It's a 3-year project to see if that kiosk for the book drop will work. If it works, we can expand it. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. We go away and move to do something else. But we cannot expand this to other lakes until we figure this one out, if this is actually going to work. The public buy-in is part of it. Being elected at the local level, that I've had people scream about things you do, actions you take, and they're the same people that scream about inaction that you don't take. And then after you've taken the action, you get the final results and say, oh, that wasn't so bad after all. I did have a couple complaints from constituents in my area that were complaining about Sylvia. Now you're going to make it so I can't fish on Sylvia. First off, they'd never fished on Sylvia before, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's probably coming from some magazine or some friend. If you've been on the lake and you appreciate the lake and you like the beauty of the lake, you're going to want to keep the lake good. I mean, if you've never been on it before, I even had an email from a guy from on the other side of Little Falls. Okay, could he find the person find Wright County on a map? Probably not. What are they crying about this? They think that it's going to come up to Little Falls? That's a different county. We're just trying here because of the neighbor to the west that has a serious problem on a lake, and we want to make sure it doesn't get here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chief Deputy has a statement or something, I'm assuming. I'd like to hear from him.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Sheriff's Office isn't here today to pro or against this ordinance. Why we're here today, or why I'm here today, is kind of let you know the impact on the county board's decision to adopt this ordinance and to continue on with this pilot project. The data kind of showed last year it operated for 21 days in the end of October. I think we'll all agree that's probably not one of the highest boating times in Minnesota, but That's what we did. There were 63 violations or reported violations during that time, 23 of which law enforcement responded to. So they did a very good job with educating the public during that first initial 21 days. The report also says it took about 45 minutes for law enforcement from the time they arrived at that scene till the time they went away from that scene. So 45 minutes that a deputy was there dealing with this issue. Just to kind of give you a reference to that, an average, I just did the a Zerker report in October, for October last year. The average traffic stop takes 10 minutes for a deputy. That was in October of last year. The average domestic disturbance call took 45 minutes and 53 seconds. So this ordinance violation takes as much resource as a domestic disturbance call. We found out last year also that we don't have the staffing currently to properly enforce and respond to this type of ordinance. That's why we're working with the county board. Recently, the county board adopted an ordinance allowing a special deputy to write a citation. That's one part of that. The second part of that is staffing. This really is a staffing issue. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, who is the state organization that's supposed to deal with this issue, doesn't have the resource to do it. They don't have the staffing to do it. Wright County last year decided that they were going to take on the sole responsibility of this into the local level, which then pushes that staffing issue on the Wright County Sheriff's Office. So we've working with HR right now, we've got a job description set up. Hopefully that the county board will take a look at and authorize an increase in staffing for that special deputy park ranger, because as it sits right now, October, we didn't have enough staffing to handle the October deal. Now we're coming into April, May, June, July. So there is an expectation of people that live on the lake that we adopted the ordinance, we're going to do something. So just hopefully that we'll work together and come to some type of staffing resolution on this. So just, again, the sheriff's office is not opposed to this, but we want to make sure that the county board fully understands that there is a staffing impact with the Wright County Sheriff's Office if you continue with this process. And that's just for 3 lakes in Wright County.
Yep, just for 3.
So.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Deputy, before you go, I for one will make the pledge right away. If we get this person to do the staffing and you come back and say, oh my Lord, we're being overwhelmed, we need extra resources here, I'm one that's going to support this because we took the initiative to do this. Now we have to give the sheriff, besides everybody else, we need to give the sheriff's department the resources to get the job and follow through. It's a pilot project. I mean, if it goes away in 2-3 years or whatever, like say, nothing, but we need to give you the resources and thank you for bringing the information there, because we need to see this cause and effect. We made an action, there's a reaction. We need to see this, and if it turns out we get this description, you get that person, all of a sudden, first month in, you're going, oh my Lord, we need a second person here. I implore you to come back to the board. I for one would support that. We need to do something on this, you know, and in my opinion, some people can disagree, the minimal amount of the cost for the extra person to try to combat this far outweighs the inaction of doing nothing, in my opinion. And I could be a lone wolf up here on this one, but we need to give you the resources to get the job done. And thank you for looking into that and giving us the information.
Commissioner Newsom?
Commissioner.
Oh, I was going to make a comment earlier about, we were talking about adding all these lakes and whatever. The resolution before us today is just for these 3 lakes. So that's something that we may be addressing down the road, but for now, the resolution is for actually the 4 lakes, but east and west Sylvia. So yeah. I just wanted to bring it back to
correct. We need to
what we're acting on today.
We need to analyze this data first before we can consider doing anything else.
Yep.
Any further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the 2018 Wright Regional Inspection Program for East and West Lake Sylvia, Lake John, and Pleasant Lake.
I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Newsom. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Commissioner Potter.
Aye.
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 Resolution carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the hard work. everybody.
Item D, Ramsey Lake. So you're going to help out Commissioner Burrell on what happened out there?
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, we saw, do you have photos? Are you able to, I know.
I don't have photos,
Lee, could you bring your computer over and maybe just to show, we can talk a little bit while you're doing that, but Lee actually has some that were emailed to him. And we're just not sure of the size of the spill. The Public Works official from Maple Lake is saying, estimating around 3,000 gallons. But when you look at these photos, you know it's way more gallons than that. But there's two tile lines, farm tiles, that run into here. So if the sewage got in, mixed with that water, and then that water is flowing all winter long, kind of coming in and freezing up on the lake, we just don't know for sure. But I guess what I'm going to ask the board to do today is just something simple, and that is to have Lee send a letter to the pollution control and email just saying that we value our lakes in Wright County, and please take this serious and do a thorough investigation. I think that's fair enough. It's just to support the people on the lake. But yeah, you can kind of see the brownish sludge coming down the ravine here.
Is this the entrance into the lake?
Yeah, and Alicia, what is it, about 1,000 feet where the leak was from the lake? It was not.
It was 2,000.
2,000. It's not terrible far, but I think I don't know if it would have flowed that far had it not mixed in with these field tiles. And I don't know everything. That's just what I heard, you know. But this is, yeah, look at this.
This
I mean,
is the edge. This is on the lake, and this is the edge of the spill here. As you can see that it's wet from
something flowing out
on
there.
top of the ice.
And probably more than 3,000 gallons. I don't know.
Mr. Chair, Alicia, what side of the lake is that? The east side or west side or?
It'd be the north.
Northwest.
It's like the northwest side.
Oh, the northwest side.
I wasn't the staff that was actually working on this. I apologize.
Okay. I shouldn't put you on the spot like that.
Oh, that's okay.
Mr. Chair, I've had some people reach out to me from Maple Lake Township, from right on the border there between the city and the township, in this area. They're concerned, and right now they're just not getting a lot of answers as to what happened, what's going to be done. So that's the reason which I thank Commissioner Burrell for wanting us to draft up some sort of communication that would ask that the state be swift and comprehensive in their actions addressing this matter.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to pass this down, but this was about 300 feet from the shore. He just drilled some test holes, and the water is pretty brownish, like you can see in the photos. So go ahead, Alicia.
I just had a quick update that Dan informed me of before I came here, is that Maple Lake, the city of Maple Lake was out on the lake this morning with a bobcat to try and pick up some of the spill, and the PCA is expected to be out there again today.
Oh, good.
So they have not given up on this, but I just think it would be good for us to support the people out on Ramsey Lake.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a former local elected official with a wastewater plant, I can assure you MPCA, they have to report this immediately, and MPCA is investigating it, but they are a little tight-lipped on giving you information until their investigation is concluded. I'd venture a guess, the city of Maple Lake with their permit and the MPCA have already got what's the mitigation plan, what we're going there. They've already got a set of procedures that they go through. I mean, it's good for us to follow up with this, but there is a procedure in place for such things like this, and every city that has a wastewater plant has this in place and basically an action plan if something happens. And the MPCA, if it is not up to snuff, so to speak, the MPCA will start fining and will start making you do corrective actions pretty quick. They take this real serious, raw sewage, and they take this serious, and I'm hoping that they'll keep going. But I know that when I was dealing with the wastewater issues in Albertville, this is a real serious issue. It doesn't rise much higher than this one does.
And Mr. and Commissioner Potter, I did want to make that clear too. The city of Maple Lake did everything right. They notified MPCA immediately, and they were out there very soon. They did a kind of a cursory inspection, and I think they're getting more thorough now, the way it sounds. They're digging into it a little bit more, so, yeah.
You may correct me if I'm wrong, but the city of Annandale is actually the one that has the action plan pertaining to this because they're the permit holders.
But it was reported to MPCA right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they figure out what caused the problem?
It was a coupler failed. And this is, what I heard is not a real high pressure system, but for some reason the coupler broke apart.
I know it is. I think it is a high pressure system. It's not a very big pipe. I think it's a 10-inch pipe that is under high pressure.
But it's 9 feet underground, and it worked its way up through the frost. So.
Wow.
But they said even when it was leaking, it was still pumping some of it into the line, and some was coming up.
Oh boy.
So, yeah. But Mr. Chair, I would just like to make a motion to direct our county coordinator to send a letter to the PCA expressing our concern, that they do a thorough investigation, and that we value our lakes in Wright County as a resource, and that we hope that they take it serious. And I think they're, like Commissioner Potter said, they're probably doing it already, but I think it would be good just to
support their investigation.
Support their investigation, yeah.
And Mr. Chair, with Commissioner Burrell, make it so that the, Maple Lake Township and all the subsequent people that would be downstream from this get informed also, so we can have it, but also get them on the loop of what's going on here, just to cover the basics, because it might not just be Maple Lake Township, that might flow somewhere to another township somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a long line from Annandale Maple Lake down to Howard Lake too.
Right, okay. I'll make that motion anyway.
Okay. I have a motion by...
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Vetch. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, why don't, it is in your area, right, Derek? Mm-hmm. Why don't we just have you and Lee, make sure that it's worded, Lee, you can draft it and run it by Derek, and I'm okay with you just kind of signing off on it. Lee can sign it, and as long as it has everything in. Thank you, Lee, I appreciate it.
In a prior life, when I used to work with a company that provided products for the wastewater treatment plants in Minnesota, I have to agree with Commissioner Potters that with the permit requirements, they're very strict on it, and they will be investigating, and chances are there'll be fines coming forth too, because I get notices regarding fines from about different cities, and it happens. They do fine cities for improper waste treatment facilities.
And I said, we don't know the cause. I mean, I think Maple Lake probably already knows. I mean, was it a joint that was put together without glue, or, because it's whatever, who knows? Or, you wouldn't think that system's designed, it should not have failed, especially this soon. That's only been less than 10 years, I think. Yeah.
Probably about.
Yeah, around there.
All right.
Anyway, okay.
Any further discussions?
Nope.
Again, motion by Commissioner Burrell, second by Commissioner Vetch. No further discussions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Items for consideration. I'm just going to take this one. I want to thank the board members for being here last Wednesday, February 7th, to meet with all of our local representatives and senators. And I want to thank our local representatives and senators for being here to discuss some of the priorities that affect the Wright County And I'm not going to go through all, through all this sort of information because it's quite lengthy. But anybody that has any interest, it is on the website, in with the packets. So if you just go to agendas, and they'll be able to see all the different concerns Wright County has on the priorities that we feel affect the Wright County taxpayers directly. And Commissioner Potter, you had made a suggestion that we send a letter to each of the senators and representatives that were here and also the ones that were not.
We're not able to attend for various reasons.
Yep. Some were, you know, everybody was provided us with explanations of why they couldn't make it, and I think it went over very well. I was very happy with the dialogue, and I was at a Seagull City Council meeting last night, and Representative Eric Lucero was there and talked about their meeting with us.
Good.
So he thought it was good, and he talked about the MNLAR system, and one of the city council members brought up MNsure, and Representative Lucero also said that's the front-facing, but there's also concerns with the back-facing, and talked about some of the time constraints and how much it's costing Wright County additionally in staff time to work with this sort of stuff. So I was impressed with him providing that information to the city council. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also with our presentation with the legislators and that, Representative Erdahl had informed us that, you know, McLeod County was 22 pages and Sherburne County was 20 pages long. We tried to condense ours down to make it so it's, you know, instead of 20 pages of fluff, get right straight to the point. And a lot of good conversation, and the demonstration about the MET system, I think really got their attention on how this is.
They did a great job.
We're supposed to simplify the system, but it made it more complicated. And I think I would like to have that, go forward with this with the letter that is include that, a overview of that MET system again, so they had hard copy of that whole system, that PowerPoint we did here, because they'll be able to reference that back and forth for a while, because when they need to get more information, they'll have a reference point for it. Because I think that struck a nerve with a few of those. I don't think they realize the extent of some of this. I mean, granted, we want to make sure people are healthy and insured and everything else, but you got to do it in a cost-effective manner, and this hasn't, you know, passed that test, so to speak, as far as being cost-effective. We need to have improvements on it.
Mr. Chair, I also want to say, I want to thank staff, did a very nice job for our first time out with this in putting together good details to representing the issues and how they impact the county. So I think that was a good start to hopefully a common practice that we can have in the county.
Yes, I would love to see it repeated every year.
For sure. Yeah, it was.
They represent this county, and it has an effect on us, and we need to let them be aware of what the actual costs are and how it really does affect
what
the
we're
county.
dealing with.
I would entertain a motion to have a letter drafted thanking everybody and providing a synopsis regarding it.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we thank all the participants and even the ones that weren't able to, and make sure that we'll be inviting them back next year. And also with that motion, I'll make to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Burrell and a second by Commissioner Hewsome. The question I have is, do you want everybody to sign it?
No. You do that all the time. You're the board chair now.
Board chair gets to make that call.
He was going to make you sign all the employee recognition ones too, Charlie.
Charlie thought he was done with all the signing.
You're the board chair.
Actually, I think that would be a good idea in this case. I have to agree with our chairman that in this particular thing, I think that it's good that we all show our
Don't make a
appreciation.
habit out of it.
So, Mr. Chair, can we direct staff to have get Charlie a rubber stamp with his signature, so not get writer's cramp?
There's only a few of them.
7, 8.
Is now a good time then for, to get Charlie to sign all the employee recognitions too on them all, right? So
Oh, boy.
I did that last year, I'm done.
you're done.
All right, so we have a motion and a second regarding sending a thank you letter and a synopsis of what we talked about and having it signed by each commissioner. Is there any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chair, I guess Commissioner Burrell's signature is going to be worth no money anymore since there's going to be so many of them out there.
Right, that's right. You're watering it down.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Committee day for the end of February.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our typical committee date would be February the 28th. Should point out the AMC Legislative Conference is the 28th and March 1st. I believe the majority of the board is planning to attend. So I guess we have a couple options, either to cancel the committees for that second date or reschedule them to a different date.
I think we could cancel it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
Coordinator Kelly, is there anything that we need to do? Do we have a review that day?
No, that's in March.
That's in March.
Okay.
March.
Chair, the only one I would be was the ERP. If that one would push us out to keeping that ball rolling, that would be the only concern that I would have.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would suggest setting it up for the 27th after our board meeting. If we have anything that is pressing that we need to deal with, and we could cancel it if it turns out, if we cancel it on the 20th, it shows that we're not going to have any pressing issue.
That's my concern, is if we have something
Right.
that is pressing that shows up.
You want to get it on the calendar, I think, in case.
Well, let's do it after board meeting on the 27th
Yeah.
then.
Okay, so
That
committee
work?
day will
And
be.
then we'll have a better idea next week,
Yeah.
whether or not we really need to have it.
Right, yep,
No reason to have a meeting to have a meeting,
right.
which we haven't been doing. If we don't have any things, we don't do it.
Mr. Chair, will make a motion to set the committee day for February 27th at 10:30 or after our board meeting.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Houston, second by Commissioner Burrell, to change the committee day to Tuesday, February 27th at 10:30. Is there any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Alrighty, advisory committees, advisory board updates. Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Soil Water Board met last night, I was there, and I just wanted to give a couple of updates and make sure that people on the Ditch 10 are aware of our meeting that we're going to be having on March 13th, following our board meeting here at 10:30. And it will be, I'd like to invite anyone from the ditch to come to that, and also the Lake Ann, Lake Emma residents, anybody downstream there, because we will be talking about a lot of different projects there. And we were given at the joint meeting, what do you call it, the
Joint ditch?
with the soil water there, our annual get-together kind of thing. We're kind of given a preliminary draft of some of the things that are being proposed, the different projects on Ditch 10, to not only improve drainage, but also to improve water quality coming into Lake Ann, and hopefully, and also to provide some flood control for Lake Ann, which is a huge concern to them. So, come to that meeting on March 13th. ISG will be there. And
ISG is the engineering firm.
And they're an engineering firm that's done a lot of work. That's that we've hired to look at all the different possibilities that we can, like I said, improve drainage and also improve water quality. The other thing I wanted to point out, I mean, we've had ongoing things that are, out on ditch 10 too. One of them I just wanted to point out, last year $17,310 was spent on what's called targeted fertilizing. So farmers are able to participate with this, where they will go out, grid map their field, and then a soil sample is taken for I believe it's every 2 acres. So then when they go through, they don't over-fertilize a certain spot of the field and only put the fertilizer where it's needed, and to help prevent runoff and fertilizers getting into the lakes downstream. So those are things that we're going to continue to do. But I'm excited that, and this is in my district, to kind of a pilot project on the ditch here to see if we really can affect water quality and help drainage at the same time. Derek, I'm sorry you couldn't be first, but that's the way it is.
No, you're good, Charlie.
So, then what else? Well, you all heard about the AIS, so I don't need to talk about that, and I think I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Houston.
All right. I was at the Buffalo Safe Schools meeting last Wednesday, and we had a little presentation about the Bounce Back program that's been going on in the community for the last couple of years. But they're going to be doing a community book read, and the kickoff for that is Thursday, March 15th at 7 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center at Buffalo High School. And the book is by Brene Brown, and a couple of the statistics that they were talking about is the Good Life did this study. They took 400 men starting after World War II. They've studied these men for 75 years, the ones who are still living, and they found that the relationships and the social connections are what really determines happiness and longevity. And 14% of the ones who were lonely, or 14% were identified themselves as lonely, and they died prematurely. They're talking about even today's social media and social connections are actually making kids more lonely, and plus, not to mention the bullying things that go on over social media. But when you're talking about the 2,000 people that are at Buffalo High School every day, the students and the teachers, 800 of them identify themselves as lonely. So here we are in groups of people, and yet we're still lonely. February is the I Love to Read month, so if you can go volunteer at a school, they appreciate that. The Wright County Law Library met last Wednesday also, and we went over our annual report and talked a little bit about the move to the new courthouse. And also, there's going to be Law Day on Friday, May 11th. And I went last year, and I mean, they have these great sessions, so if you can make it that day, it's open to the public. And also, we got an email.
Excuse me, just regarding the Law Day.
Yep.
Now, last year, that was when?
It was on a Monday last year of like May.
And when is it this year? In May?
It's Friday, May 11th.
And last year, it had a really good turnout, if I remember.
We had and it was on a Monday, and they thought maybe,
right?
Pardon?
10 to 2, right?
I don't have the hours, but it seemed like it was longer than that, but maybe you're correct about that.
But it was a good turnout.
It was an excellent turnout. People can come in and settle their fines, and so there's, yeah.
Education, information.
A lot of, I mean, I went to the one in Court Reporters. I couldn't believe how fast those people have to type. I mean, we're talking like 160 words a minute or some crazy thing. And but went to the probation one, and so it's a lot of great information for the public to find out what really some of these departments are involved with and do.
The intergovernmental work.
Yes, for sure.
For courts.
Yep, connected to the courts. And the Wright County Sheriff's Office is going to have their Citizen Law Enforcement Academy, and that will be classes from 6:30 to 9 p.m. April 24th, May 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd at the Law Enforcement Center. And you can check this out. I think it should be on our website also. But they'll address civil process, crime lab, communications, court procedures, tactical operations, use of force, jail procedure, you get a tour, narcotics and criminal investigation, patrol and canine, the Sheriff's Office overview, DWI enforcement, and Homeland Security. So if you are interested in participating, you need to be 18 years old, and you will be screened via criminal background because of the information. So
Do we get to shoot guns?
I don't have it on here,
Oh, okay.
but you know, use of force is part of the deal. So yeah,
I'll vouch for it. I did it last year. It was very fun.
it's
Anything else?
who doesn't want to drive a squad car?
Anything
That's
else?
it.
Okay. Regarding that, the jail and the LEC, I took some Cub Scouts out there last week on Tuesday. They were very impressed. They thought it was so cool. You know, what are they, 12 years old, 11? And until they realized that even though they got free meals, that they're stuck in a small little area for the majority of their day with being told what to do all the time. Didn't quite to be get so cool.
Just like home.
Yeah.
You
No,
don't-
actually a little worse than home.
Yeah, you don't get to leave at the end of the day.
No. No, so it was very interesting. Last week, Commissioner Batch and I met with a number of other people in a company called Infotech to start our discussions with ERP. We will be getting information from them and a report probably within the next week and a half. Once that's digested and discussed with the technology committee, there will be a meeting of the whole to help bring that information to everybody.
Are we getting a conference call with a follow-up with it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, as soon as they'll send us the information, we'll get a chance to digest it. Then we'll have a conference call to ask questions, and everything looked like ERP, which stands for Enterprise.
Resource planning or
And it's looking at from the top down on how the county does things. And one of the reasons we're looking at it again is that our systems are so siloed that there's a number of things that are being entered multiple times when in the day of technology, entering it once and it goes to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for some of our departments to access some of the financial information and the spreadsheets that every different department has. It's multiple work. This is to streamline the county, to bring technology out of the 18th century and into the 19th century.
Yeah, because they had so much technology in the 18th century.
And then Commissioner Betch and I also met on Friday with a group to discuss
architectural design.
Architectural design or planning actually for the whole campgrounds out at the Bertram Lake. And with the requirements there, they're also going to do a market study to see if it's really necessary, what effect it'll have, what we can expect for.
I'm waiting for that, even if we just got sites where we could run generator and whatever, you know.
So anyway, it's, and it's a lot of it, again, because of what's going on with the city of Monticello out at that park with an active and a passive area. It's going to be very, very unique. And I'm looking forward to, we had narrowed it down to 2, and there's still some discussions on which one we're going to land with. But they had some really neat ideas. Both of them did.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to the final plans and all that. And again, this is not something that's going to happen next week or tomorrow or next year. It's going to be depending on funding from the state and
Well, you
stuff.
should note that this is the first step in applying for grants.
Yep.
We have to have these documents to be able to secure some grant funding.
Other than that, that's about it. I have, other than I was at the city council meeting last night at Otsego for some TIF that they're looking at doing over by 101 and County Road 42.
Okay. Well, as you can see, I spent a lot of time with Mark last week.
Yeah, the
In
team.
between the other members there, they covered most of the items that I was at, outside of my health insurance trust meeting for Trailblazer, which there's nothing to report at this point. So, other than that, I have nothing.
I'm sorry to steal your thunder.
Oh, no, it's all right. You did a good job.
Save your voice for next week.
Exactly.
Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, is there anything else?
Okay. Well, last week, Wednesday, when we had our legislative elected officials here, in the morning I was down in St. Paul for the Byron and Frederickson Legislative Outlook session at the Intercontinental Hotel in St. Paul. Mary LaHammer from Channel 2 was the moderator of it. We had Senator Michelle Benson, Senator Thomas Bach, Representative Melissa Hortman, and Speaker of the House Kurt Doubt there, going through the litany of things that are concerns to the legislature now. If this is a short session this year, it's a bonding session this year. The governor had laid out a $1.5 billion worth of projects he wanted to do. A majority of them were infrastructure repair relating to the University of Minnesota and that, which brought the ire of a couple people, the rural caucus per se. The amount of money that they're going to put into infrastructure for wastewater water systems aging in the greater Minnesota was woefully inadequate. So that conversation came up a little bit. And Senator Thomas Bach and Speaker Doubt, anybody who's been paying attention to those two, they don't always get along. They were playing nice last week, which was surprising, which is good though. They were trying to figure out a compromise in this. They know that the $1.5 billion is not happening. We've heard it from the chair, Representative Erdahl, chair of the bonding committee, that $800 million is more likely to happen, probably more palatable for that. So they're going to have to reconcile how they're going to do this. Senator Bach was looking into making it so some of it was for infrastructure and repair, and some of it was for new projects, trying to split that bonding package up a little bit. Not sure if it's going to get traction. But that was the discussion how to go forward with this. Transportation will have limited this year because of things happening last year, but I still suspect there'll be a few items on there. And they're going to have to try to deal with the latest federal budget deal that they did, and the $20 billion for infrastructure, and how that affects Minnesota, how it comes down. But that's going to be a discussion probably later in that session. Otherwise, it was come out of the conversation of what I'd like to have more happening, and I talked to Mary LaHammer afterwards. And keep in mind for the residents here, when she was growing up, her dad had a place on Maple Lake, a cabin on there, so she knows Wright County a little bit. Trying to get it where it's less questions that she and her staff are directing, and more for us audience, more time for us, because we have a lot of questions we ask and put on the sheet, and she only gets to like 3 or 4 of them. We'd like to make it so it's more about us out in the audience, that elected officials, and so bit what's going on here versus what their pre-programmed things are. So hopefully that'll change. But that was a heck of a drive to get from St. Paul to here in time for this last Wednesday. But it's good to go to these places and have your face seen, and hopefully them seeing our faces. And if we can sometimes, for different issues, go down to St. Paul, it does work well for Wright County when we participate and show up. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Regarding Representative Lucero, last night, he said probably the first priority they're going to be dealing with is funding the legislators and the senators because of the defunding from the governor last year. And the governor had said that he'll approve anything that they bring forward. I'm assuming within reason.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Oh, before we adjourn, I just wanted to acknowledge my sister Janet in the back there, who came up from Michigan to see me and came over to the board meeting to see what we really do here. So, thank you, Janet, for coming over.
Welcome.
And yes, Charlie does have a job, so you can bring him.
He doesn't do anything, but he does have a job. No, the board's very, very active here. Coordinator Kelly, do you have anything that you need to add or suggestions or anything?
Not at the moment. Was at Buffalo Township last night to talk about our impound, the holding pond on the impound lot, and other issues that was there with Commissioner Hewsome. Other than that, nothing really to report.
Thank you.
No issues? No problems? Good.
Yep, they're pretty open to the suggestion and,
Hey,
So,
planning for
Mr.
the
Chair, what
future.
that tells us that we just need to bring Commissioner Houston wherever we go, because things move just smooth when
Yeah.
she's involved.
right.
All right, hearing nothing more before the board, we are adjourned at 10:11.
There you go.